History is not only shaped by powerful enemies. Sometimes it is destroyed by divided friends. Empires didn't always fall because they were weak. Civilizations didn't always collapse because they lacked resources. Many fell because when unity was needed, most people chose pride, rivalry, and internal wars instead. If you enjoy deep untold history that reveals hidden lessons behind the rise and fall of nations, make sure to stay connected with Top 10 Untold, because every episode uncovers warnings humanity keeps ignoring. Tonight's journey is about moments when unity could have saved everything. 10 times in history where survival was within reach, but division opened the door to disaster. And by the end, you may realize these stories are not just about the past. They are warnings for our present and our future. Warning 10. Greek city-states. When rivalry destroyed a civilization. Ancient Greece is remembered as the birthplace of democracy, philosophy, and Western civilization. But behind the glory stood a fatal weakness: endless infighting. Athens, Sparta, Thebes, Corinth. Instead of forming a lasting united front, they constantly fought one another for dominance. When Persia invaded Greece in the 5th century BCE, unity briefly saved them. The Greeks stood together at Marathon, Salamis, and Plataea and won. But once the threat was gone, the old rivalries returned stronger than ever. Athens built an empire. Sparta feared it. Soon the Greek world collapsed into the Peloponnesian War, a brutal 27-year conflict that drained wealth, manpower, and stability. Brother fought brother. City burned city. By the time the war ended, Greece was shattered. And that weakness invited a new power. From the north came Macedon, led by Philip II and later his son, Alexander the Great. The once proud city-states were conquered one by one, not because Macedon was unbeatable, but because Greece was divided. Had Athens and Sparta maintained unity after defeating Persia, they could have formed an unstoppable federation. Instead, their rivalry handed control of Greece to outsiders. Lesson: victory means nothing if unity dies afterward. Present parallel: today's nations often defeat common threats only to turn against each other politically, economically, and militarily. History warns: the real collapse usually comes after the enemy is gone. Warning 9. Indian kingdoms versus invasions. Divided thrones, lost homeland. For centuries, the Indian subcontinent was home to powerful kingdoms, rich, advanced, and heavily populated. But unity was rare. Rajputs fought Rajputs. Kings betrayed neighboring kings. Rivalries mattered more than survival. When early Muslim invaders such as Mahmud of Ghazni and later Muhammad Ghori attacked, Indian rulers faced a historic choice: stand together, or protect only their own territory. Most chose isolation. Some even secretly supported invaders to weaken their rivals. One kingdom would fall while the next watched in silence, until it was their turn. In the famous Battle of Terrain 1192, Indian forces could have overwhelmed Ghori with unified armies. Instead, fragmented leadership and internal jealousy weakened resistance. Defeat opened the gates to centuries of foreign rule. The Delhi Sultanate followed, then the Mughals, later the British Empire. A land that could have resisted every invasion was slowly conquered piece by piece. Not by superior numbers, but by superior unity of invaders facing disunity at home. Lesson: when leaders protect pride more than people, nations fall. Present parallel: even today, political polarization weakens states from within while external pressures grow. The old pattern repeats. Warning 8. Arab states before colonialism, when division invited control. By the late 1700s and 1800s, much of the Arab world was technically under Ottoman rule but in reality fragmented into rival provinces, tribes, and local rulers. Instead of forming a strong united political front, regions competed. Egypt against Levant, tribal alliances against neighboring tribes, local leaders seeking personal power. European powers watched carefully. Britain and France didn't conquer the Middle East through massive armies. They exploited divisions. One ruler was promised support against another. One tribe was armed against rivals. Slowly, influence turned into control. After World War I, the Ottomans collapsed and the Arab world stood divided. Instead of unity and independence, colonial borders were drawn by foreigners. Syria, Iraq, Jordan, Palestine, artificial nations created from fragmented lands. Decades of instability followed. Had Arab regions united into a single powerful bloc when European interference began, colonization would have been nearly impossible. But fragmentation turned strong civilizations into manageable pieces. Lesson: divided lands become easy targets. Present parallel: foreign influence still grows strongest where local unity is weakest. Warning 7. African kingdom rivalries, selling each other into collapse. Before European colonization, Africa was home to advanced kingdoms. Mali Empire, Songhai Empire, Kingdom of Congo, Ashanti Empire, Zulu Kingdom. They had armies, trade networks, and wealth. But rivalry poisoned relations. When Europeans arrived seeking slaves and resources, African rulers faced a decision: resist together, or use foreigners to defeat rivals. Many chose the second. Kingdoms captured rival tribes and sold them to Europeans. Some armed Europeans in exchange for weapons. At first, it seemed like smart strategy. But slowly, Europeans gained power, control, and military dominance. Once strong kingdoms became dependent, then conquered. By the late 1800s, nearly all of Africa was colonized. Not because Africans were weak, but because unity never formed. Lesson: using outsiders to defeat your own people always ends in disaster. Present parallel: political factions today sometimes invite foreign interference to defeat internal rivals, forgetting the long-term cost. Warning 6. Native tribes versus settlers, a continent lost through disunity. When European settlers arrived in North America, native tribes were not small or helpless. There were powerful confederations: Iroquois, Cherokee, Apache, Sioux, Comanche. Some had tens of thousands of warriors. Had they united early into a massive alliance, settlement expansion would have been nearly impossible. But instead, tribes fought each other for land, revenge, and old grudges. Some allied with Europeans against rival tribes. The British armed one tribe. The French supported another. While settlers slowly expanded, by the time tribes realized the greater threat, it was too late. Disease, weapons, and organized armies overwhelmed them. An entire continent changed hands. Lesson: small conflicts blind people to the larger danger. Present parallel: societies today fight cultural and political wars while bigger threats grow unnoticed. Warning 5. The Inca Brothers' Civil War, when victory turned into ruin. At the height of its power, the Inca Empire was the largest civilization in the Americas. Stretching from modern-day Colombia to Chile, it had millions of people, advanced road systems, organized armies, strong leadership. The Incas were nearly unstoppable. Until unity shattered. When Emperor Huayna Capac died around 1527, two sons fought for the throne. Huáscar, the legitimate heir in the capital, Atahualpa, the powerful general ruling the north. What followed was a brutal civil war. Brother against brother, army against army. For 5 years, the empire burned itself from within. Cities were destroyed, tens of thousands were killed, resources were drained. In the end, Atahualpa won. But the empire he inherited was exhausted. And that was the exact moment Spanish conquistador Francisco Pizarro arrived, with just around 160 soldiers. Under normal circumstances, such a tiny force would have been crushed instantly. But the Inca Empire was broken, divided, and confused. Some factions supported the Spanish to weaken rivals. Others were too tired to resist. Pizarro captured Atahualpa through deception. The empire collapsed rapidly. Within a few years, the mighty Incas were gone. Not defeated by Spanish strength. Destroyed by internal division first. Lesson: the worst wars are the ones fought among your own people. Present parallel: nations today weaken themselves through internal political warfare, making them vulnerable to external manipulation. Warning 4. China's warlord era, a nation torn while enemies watched. After the fall of China's Qing dynasty in 1912, the country stood at a crossroads. It could have united into a strong modern state. Instead, it shattered. Military generals seized territories, forming personal armies. These leaders became known as warlords. Each ruled like a king. Each fought others for land, taxes, and power. China became a battlefield of constant conflict. Villages burned. Civilians starved. Infrastructure collapsed. While Chinese leaders fought each other, foreign powers expanded influence. Japan, Britain, Russia. Then came Japan's full invasion in the 1930s. China was too divided to resist effectively. Millions died. Only when nationalist and communist forces temporarily united did resistance become strong. But unity came late after unimaginable destruction. Had China united earlier after the Qing collapse, foreign occupation could have been minimized or prevented. Lesson: division invites invasion. Present parallel: political fragmentation in countries today often opens doors for economic pressure, proxy wars, and foreign control. Warning 3. The Balkans. Nationalism that turned neighbors into enemies. The Balkans were once part of larger empires, Ottoman and Austro-Hungarian. Different ethnic and religious groups lived side by side for centuries. But when empires weakened in the 19th and 20th centuries, nationalism exploded. Each group wanted its own nation. Serbs, Croats, Bosniaks, Albanians, Bulgarians. Instead of cooperation, suspicion ruled. Borders became battle lines. The early 1900s saw constant wars. Then after Yugoslavia collapsed in the 1990s, violence returned brutally. Neighbors who once lived peacefully turned on each other. Mass killings, ethnic cleansing, destroyed cities. Outside powers intervened. The region became unstable for decades. If Balkan nations had formed a cooperative regional union after empire collapse, prosperity could have followed. Instead, hatred created endless suffering. Lesson: identity without unity leads to endless conflict. Present parallel: modern politics increasingly divides societies by race, religion, and ideology, repeating Balkan-style fragmentation. Warning 2. Somali clan divisions, a nation that never reunited. Somalia once had a chance to become a strong, united African nation after independence in 1960. The people shared language, religion, culture. But loyalty to clans remained stronger than loyalty to nation. When dictator Siad Barre fell in 1991, unity collapsed completely. Clan militias fought for control. No central government survived. Warlords ruled regions. Foreign interventions failed. Famine spread. Piracy rose. Extremist groups filled the power vacuum. For over 3 decades, Somalia remained fractured. All because clans never united under one national vision. With unity, Somalia could have controlled trade routes, ports, and resources. Instead, it became a symbol of failed statehood. Lesson: when loyalty to group exceeds loyalty to nation, chaos follows. Present parallel: many modern states struggle where tribal, ethnic, or factional loyalty outweighs shared identity. Warning 1. Modern polarized democracies, the most dangerous division of all. Today, many of the world's strongest nations face a new kind of division. Not by armies, but by ideology. Politics has become tribal. People no longer debate, they hate. Families break over elections. Friends stop speaking. News becomes propaganda. Each side sees the other not as opponent but as enemy. This is the same pattern seen before every major collapse in history. Rome before its fall. France before revolution chaos. Russia before civil war. Extreme polarization weakens trust. And when trust disappears, institutions crumble. Cooperation stops. Stability dies. Foreign powers exploit internal conflict. Economic crises deepen. Social unrest grows. The danger today is not just disagreement. It is complete fragmentation. If unity is not rebuilt, even the strongest democracies may follow the same path as fallen empires. Lesson: no nation survives permanent internal war. Present parallel: we are living inside the warning right now. History screams one message again and again. Enemies rarely destroy civilizations first. Division does. Every empire that collapsed from inside before falling from outside. Unity is not just strength. It is survival. If you want more deep untold history that reveals the hidden warnings shaping our world today, stay connected with Top 10 Untold. Because the past is not dead. It's trying to teach us before it happens again.